Hi. It's okay. No, really, it's no big deal. Oh, my day? Oh, no, nothing interesting. It was just a day. Again, I'm fine. It was nothing. You want to know how I am? What do you say when someone asks you how you are? Do you lie and say you're fine even if you're not? Or do you tell the truth even if they might think you're weird? In this piece, a woman is struggling when her boyfriend asks her that very question, how are you? The following is the inner turmoil that is happening in her head. This is Invisible Woman by Rich Orloff. You want to know how I am? That makes two of us. You want to know the thoughts in my head? So do I. At least, part of me does. And part of me doesn't. And that part of me that doesn't rules. Mostly I keep busy so that I won't have time to listen to myself. I'm afraid that if I take the time, there might be nothing to listen to. But every now and then, when I do hear something, I get scared. What does that thought mean? What am I supposed to do with it? Where do I put it? When it goes away, I breathe easier, and I try to get busy again. Other people, I look at them, and they seem so filled with thoughts and feelings. I don't know how they get any work done. I mean, if I felt and thought as much as most people, I don't think I would have the energy for anything else. And sometimes I think feeling and thinking is just a fad, and one day it'll just pass. But then somewhere inside of me, I know I must have what everybody else has. And if I forced myself and I got over the urge to scream, I could tell you a great deal. But what if I couldn't stop? And what if I stayed that way, thinking and feeling all over the place, every waking moment, and telling you about it, getting so that I wanted to and that I needed someone to listen? Well, that doesn't sound the least bit attractive. And if I told you everything I thought, and everything I felt, and everything I desired, even for a split second, if you looked at me in silence, I would feel so alone that the terror would collapse my heart. And even if I survived that, even if I survived the terror, you would know where my soul lived. And I need to have an unlisted soul. You seem to like me, but I know you don't know me. So what does your affection mean? And I see that you're kind, and I see you try to bring me out. But I don't trust it's what you really want. Even if I knew what I thought and what I felt, I couldn't tell you. So please stop asking. Please. Please. Order your drink and let's have dinner. And tell me the stories of your day and of your life. Distract me, engage me. Let me live through you. You can do that. I know you can. It's your most attractive feature. Just stop asking me how I am, please. Before I get annoyed, before I lose patience and get so fed up, I just tell you and risk it all and face the terror that I haven't even named yet, but it runs my life. And if you make me go there, I will only resist you and resent you, and neither of us will be happy. So you tell me how you are, and I will listen, and I will take your hand, and I'll make you glad you're a man. But I will not tell you how I am. I cannot tell you. Ever.
This is a monologue modified from its original from the musical Wicked. This is from the perspective of the Wicked Witch, or Elphaba. I am Elphaba. What? What are you looking at? Okay, I know I'm green. No, I'm not seasick. Yes, I've been green ever since I was born, and no, I did not eat grass when I was little. Everyone is always looking, staring. Why are people so judgmental? This is who I am. People say I'm a rebel. I speak my mind, even if I know it'll make me some enemies. I believe in equality. What if you're green? What if you're a goat, like Dr. Dillamond, or rich and popular, like Glinda the Good? To the world, those things matter. But to me, we are all equal and made perfect by our imperfections. I desire discrimination to be history, a thing of the past. I want to change the ideals of the world. All I've ever wanted in life is to be accepted for who and what I am. Every day, there is a question that stirs people's minds, a question pointed at me that they cannot erase from their hearts. Are people born wicked, or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? That is what bothers them, and let me answer that. No, I never wanted to be called wicked, and in my heart, I know that I'm not. I'm just a regular, normal girl, wanting to be accepted and loved by society for being me, for being green. But the world has a mind of its own, and when your flesh is not flesh, but green like mine, the sad and inevitable fact is you'd have to wake up every single day knowing that people will look down on you. You don't know what's in my heart. All you see is this green exterior, and I hate people for having narrow minds and closed hearts. Can't you see I'm human too? I cry when I'm sad. I laugh when I think things are funny. I'm normal. Can't you see that? But obviously no one notices. No matter how hard I try to act normal, I know that I'm special, and people take that differently. You don't see what's in my heart, and it breaks me every time I try to do good, because all you see is bad, not because you see me, but because you see that I'm green. I can read spells and do magic. That is my curse and my gift. Once I was tricked, asked to do a spell that completely took me by surprise and way beyond my conviction. All I wanted to do was help and not hurt the animals. But that day changed my life, and here I am, seen by all as a wicked person, nothing more. Glinda and Fiyero, the two people in this world closest to my heart, besides my sister Nessa Rose, of course. But Glinda, though we started off on the wrong foot, she became my best friend. Can you imagine being so different from a person, and yet being completely accepted for what you are? Even though we had to part ways because of our differences, Glinda's my best friend. And Fiyero, he gave me hope and love. Never in my life did I imagine I could be loved as much as he loved me. If not for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. Don't get your hopes up. I'm still who I am. Nothing's changed. The stares are still piercing every time I go out in public. But you know how people are. They'll always be judgmental. I know the world hates me, and I know they fear me. I am as green as ever, shining like a bright emerald, and I am full of love in my heart. I cannot change the views of the world. My friend Glinda the Good gives hope to the people of Oz, so I have to do my part and bring gloom and murk into their lives, even though it is not in my heart to do so. Despite our differences in the way the world sees us, Glinda's my best friend. Because of her friendship, I can truly say I've been freed from all the judgment of the world. I am Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, and today I am soaring high, defying gravity, liberated and letting go, because I am free.
I had only babysat for my baby half-brother Scott once or twice, even though he was only 3 months old. I have been around him a lot though, and I know how to take care of him. So my dad feels pretty comfortable letting me watch him for 2 hours while he goes to the airport to pick up my stepmother. I was alright with it too, since Scott was a unusually happy baby who would smile at anything and rarely cried. This is A Babysitter's Promise by Shano Needleman. A babysitter's tale of love was put into perspective during one night of watching her baby half-brother. You know where the emergency phone numbers are, and Scott shouldn't have to eat yet until 6:30 p.m., but we should be home by then. And, Dad, you're treating me like I'm a new babysitter. I babysat Scott before. I know what to do. At least that's how it seemed like for the first 50 minutes we were all there. Scott smiled and cooed at me like his usual self. But, like all perfect timing babies had, Dad's cat pulls him. And Scott decides to scream. Is he okay? My dad called me in the room. I don't know. Does he need to be changed or eat? It's got to be the latter. Scott's a big baby. As a matter of fact, he's off the chart. He's always eating, and I even feared that he's due to become a football player. So, Dad stopped on his way out the door. I just changed him, and Scott shouldn't have to eat yet, unless he's planning on gaining another 10 pounds next week. Scott was screaming all louder, the shrillest noise he could muster filling the whole room. I tried singing to him. I tried to burp him. I even reduced myself to make silly faces at him. But he can't see me since his eyes are squeezed into his little mottled red face. My eardrums are taking a severe beating. I tried to change him, but his volume somehow increased. I wondered if the neighbors could hear and if any of them had called the police yet. I begged him to be quiet, so I just put a pacifier in his mouth. He screamed more. Apparently, I don't have the patience of an average mother to handle this sort of madness days on end. After half an hour of Scott crying, I found that crying, just like yawning and hiccups, are contagious. And soon, tears of frustration and exasperation were running down my face. Scott's crying would not bother me so much if he was the type of baby that cried often. But he wasn't. He always smiled. I wonder how teenage mothers take care of their babies. And then I realized that Scott could have been mine. So we both cried. Me or him for whatever's wrong with him, and me for anyone in this situation way worse than me, and for the sad and painful demise of my eardrums. Scott's scream show no sign of letting up at any point, so I thought he must be hungry, or at least thirsty. So I gave him some water. After a few minutes, he let out a belch so loud that it would even impress a 500-pound truck driver. So finally, I hugged him, begging him to be quiet. And mercifully he did, after wounding any nerves I might have had and my irrational desire to have children when I grow up. I gently laid him in his crib, and I leaned over. Scotty, I promise I'll take care of you until college, but I will never, ever have kids of my own. You can quote me on that. Scott opened his eyes. I cringed, expecting that he's going to start bawling again. But instead, he gives me a toothless smile, or a toothless grin, and goes back to bed.
Everyone has their own beliefs, everyone has their own wants, their own opinions. That's what makes us all us. The real difference in everyone's goals is how they reach them. In this piece, a local store owner is approaching some of those people that just expect life to go their own way after some of them just destroyed his store, and he's telling them of how they should live their lives. This is Revolting by D.M. Larson. I can't believe you people. You come and mess up my shop every time you decide you want to have a protest party. Party, that's what I called it. Because I feel you all are just playing around. What are you really accomplishing anyway? You're just out here to have fun and make a mess. Put your energy into something that really matters. Feed the homeless. Build them homes. Help troubled kids. Volunteer for something. Plant a tree. You're just tearing us down when you do this. Instead of complaining all the time, get out there and actually do something. Faith without works is dead, my friends. Where were you all when your candidate was losing? I bet you didn't even get around to voting. Why weren't you out there holding rallies, trying to get us excited about this person? I know. It's hard to get excited about any politicians, but you don't have to do this instead. You don't have to ruin everything I've worked hard for. Work. That's what I do. Maybe you should try it sometime. You're all just looking for excuses to whine and destroy things. You think it's fun to spray paint my walls and break my windows? Why can't you build up our country instead of always tearing it down? You're creating this problem. The more you break and the more you ruin, the more you make us want to vote for the other person. You push us away. You're revolting. And not in the protest way, in the ugly way. So revolting that I can't even look at you. And you make me turn away from the ugliness you support. Because that's what you do. You make things ugly. You ruin everything you touch. If you want to change things, do something. Talk is cheap. And if only you would talk, you have to destroy things too? Instead of painting nasty messages on my wall, go paint an old widow's house or mow her lawn. Do you have a grandma or a grandpa? Have you visited them lately? Maybe you should spend more time talking to them and learning from them. Maybe they'll have something smart to say to take the place of all those dumb thoughts inside your head. Know what? That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. You're not listening anyway. At least stop busting up my store. feel kind of good. Know what? This is kind of fun. And it helps let out some of the anger and some of the tension. Fine. Okay. We all need to let out a little stress in our lives. But please, try helping instead of hurting. I'm getting too old for this.
Finally, it's Saturday. I can't wait until tonight when I visit my brother Matt. In Seeing My Brother by Marites A. Roche, one girl explores her sibling's poor decision and the impact it's made on her family and herself. This is Seeing My Brother by Marites A. Roche. He's in a facility, which is just a polite way to say he's in jail. Minors can only visit on weekends. I can't believe he's in there. It's so hard to accept everything that's happened. Last month, Matt and a friend decided to steal a car. Somehow, they got the keys and took it. Unfortunately, they crashed when his friend swerved to miss hitting a dog. Luckily, no one was hurt, but they were definitely caught. Matt's trial is next week. He's charged with possession of a stolen vehicle. They couldn't charge him with auto theft because he wasn't driving. We think that he'll get probation and have to pay for the car. He'll probably be working it off till he's 30. I don't know what kind of a job he can get since he dropped out of high school. I think my dad is going to get him a job where he works. It seems like I'm the only one learning from Matt's mistakes. He did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, no matter how much he was punished. Maybe this experience will help him realize all he's done. Some family members and friends say Matt has no brain. Others say he has the common sense of a goat. I don't believe that, though. Matt is incredibly smart. Give him a math problem and he'll solve it. He even helps me with my homework when I ask. Maybe beg is more like it. I think he was just bored with school. It's really hard on my parents, especially my mom. Sometimes when she's in the shower, I can hear her crying. I hear every sniffle and whimper over the water. My heart is just dying for her. I've ran into my room and cried like there's no tomorrow. Sometimes I think having no tomorrow would be a mixed blessing. I wouldn't have to listen to her cry and beg God to help her son. I wouldn't have to be strong for her. I remember the one time I did break down in front of her. She started to cry so hard, harder than I'd ever thought possible. She started to say things like, I need to be strong for her and I'm all she has left. It made me feel guilty and ashamed. After all, Mom is the one who carried him for 9 months and raised him. I can't imagine how this all feels to her. My dad deals with this very differently. He was raised at a time when a man crying was a sign of weakness. So Dad reacted the only way he knew how, with anger. He didn't hit anyone. He just kept talking about how none of his kids could have acted so stupid and not have anything wrong with their head. He repeated over and over that he wanted Matt to be evaluated. I mean, Dad was a hellraiser when he was a teenager too. Maybe he didn't do anything this major, but still, Dad had a job when he dropped out of high school. Matt doesn't. Is this stuff genetic? Matt's friends still call. I wonder how they think we feel. I mean, my mom came to me crying and mumbling that Matt was in jail. I just stood there, stunned, with Mom hanging on to me, sobbing her heart out. She was crying so hard, her whole body shook. I thought that only happened in the movies. My friends, even my boyfriend, heard about it and asked me all kinds of questions. I tried to make it into a joke and not show my emotions,
but my boyfriend saw right through me. Later, when we were alone, he asked me how I really felt, and I broke down. He put his arms around me and whispered that it'd all be okay. I had finally found a shoulder to cry on, a safe haven to run to, an anchor in the emotional storm I was going through. I just let everything out. I don't know how long I cried, but it felt good. I hate the uncertainty of not knowing what's going to happen next, but life goes on, and I deal. That's all you can really do. Well, that, and be there for my mom and Matt. Right now, I just pray that Matt will change. Maybe if he knew what everyone else was going through, he would. He just needs to realize that his actions affect other people, especially those who love him. You know what? I still love him. I mean, how can I not? He's always going to be my brother, and I'm always going to be his sister. That's never going to change. And neither is the fact that I will always be there for him and help him when he needs it. The only good thing about all this is Mom knows where Matt is. Maybe she can rest easier knowing he's alive, not dead or in danger, even though jail wasn't the alternative she was looking for. This is a selection of pieces from the complete poems of Emily Dickinson, edited by Thomas H. Johnson. The poems I've chosen are poems 640, 511, and 648, as they all have similar themes of anticipation and forbidden love. This is because Emily Dickinson was a lesbian poet from the 1800s when being gay was a blasphemous act that was punishable by jail time. I cannot live with you. It would be life, and life is over there behind the shelf the sexton keeps the key to, putting up our life, his porcelain, like a cup discarded of the housewife, quaint or broke. A newer Sevres pleases, old ones crack. I could not die with you, for one must wait to shut the other's gaze down. You could not, and could I stand by to see you freeze without my right of frost, death's privilege? Nor could I rise with you because your face would put out Jesus's, that new grace glow plain and foreign on my homesick eye, except that you than he shone closer by. They judge us. How? For you served heaven, you know, or sought to. I could not, because you saturated sight, and I had no more eyes for sordid excellence as paradise. And were you lost? I would be, though my name rang loudest on that heavenly fame. And were you saved, and I condemned to be where you were not? That self were hell to me. So we must meet apart, you there, I here, with just the door ajar, that oceans are in prayer, and that white sustenance, despair. If you were coming in the fall, I'd brush the summer by, with half a smile and half a spurn, as housewives do a fly. If you were coming in a year, I'd wind the months in balls and put them each in separate drawers for fear the numbers fuse. If only centuries delayed, I'd count them on my hand, subtracting till my fingers dropped into Van Diemen's land. And if certain, when this life was out, that yours and mine should be, I'd toss it yonder like a rind and take eternity. But now, uncertain of the length of this that is between, it goads me like a goblin bee that will not state its sting. Promise this, when you be dying, some shall summon me. Mine belong your latest sighing, mine to belt your eye. Not with coins, though they be minted from an emperor's hand, be my lips the only buckle your low eyes demand. Mine to stay when all have wandered, to devise once more, to devise, if this life be too surrendered, life of mine restore. Poured like this, my whole libation, just that you should see. Bliss of death, life's bliss extol through imitating you. Mine to guard your narrow precinct, to seduce the sun longest on yourself, to linger largest dews of morn, to demand in your low favor, lest the precious grass, greener lean or fonder cluster round some other face, mine to supplicate Madonna, if Madonna could behold so far a creature. Christ omitted me, just to follow your dear future, ne'er so far behind. For my heaven, had I not been most enough denied.
In The Fire Drill by Peg Carrot, a teenager does not understand why it is so important to leave the building during a fire drill. Evacuating the school in under 3 minutes is never going to happen. Other things, like the latest gossip, are obviously priorities. There was a fire drill at my school yesterday. According to the fire marshal, everyone is supposed to vacate the building in 2 minutes and 37 seconds or less. I don't know where he came up with that figure, but it's totally unrealistic. The only way everyone in the school could get outside in that amount of time is if we all jumped out the windows. I was in my math class when the fire alarm rang. Since this was the first fire drill of the season, I wasn't sure what it was. They rang one kind of bell for an earthquake drill and a different kind of bell for a fire drill. If it's an earthquake drill, we're supposed to duck and take cover. If it's a fire drill, we're supposed to go outside. Nobody could remember which was which, so when the alarm sounded, the first thing we did was ask each other if that was the fire drill alarm, or was that the earthquake drill alarm? We were so busy asking each other and saying we didn't know that it was about half a minute before anyone noticed our teacher was telling us it was a fire alarm and to get outside. My seat in math class is next to the window. Oh. I remembered that the people next to the windows are supposed to do something during a fire drill, but I couldn't remember what. Was I supposed to close the window so the fresh air couldn't get in and feed the flames? Or was I supposed to open the window so the pressure of the hot air wouldn't cause it to shatter? I tried it both ways and debated a few seconds about each one. In the end, I left it slightly ajar. When the window question was decided, I had to gather up all my books. I couldn't just leave them behind. What if they got lost? What if it really was a fire and they burnt up? I spent 2 hours the night before decorating my paper book covers. I used colored pens and wrote, "I love Justin," in 14 different ways. I couldn't just rush out of the room and leave my books behind. As soon as I had all my books, I went out in the hall to look for Mary Beth and Lisa. We had agreed that we would meet as soon as fourth period class was over because Mary Beth had some critical news to tell us and it could not wait until lunch period. I suspected it had to do with Mark Hanover, the guy Mary Beth likes. And, well, if I didn't find out what it was after fourth period, I wouldn't see her again until lunch. And by then, She would have told Lisa, and Lisa would tell everyone else, and I'd be the last to know, which wouldn't be right at all, since I am one of Mary Beth's closest friends. So I left my math room and went to where I was supposed to meet Lisa and Mary Beth. Lisa was already there, and as soon as Mary Beth arrived, we went to my locker. I had to stop at my locker because, well, I left my purse in it. And I couldn't possibly leave the building without my purse. My purse contains every single item of importance to my existence, and I'd sooner die in the fire than lose it. After I got my purse, Lisa had to stop at her locker and get her purse. By then, the building was almost empty, so it was the perfect time for Mary Beth to tell us her news without anyone else hearing. The news was critical. Mark Hanover had said hi to her in the hall that morning, and she had said hi back. So no wonder she was anxious to tell us about it. We were still exclaiming about Mary Beth's good fortune when the teachers yelled at us to hurry up and get outside. We got out to the east parking lot where we were supposed to go and checked in with the monitor. Then we had to listen to a big lecture about how it took us 10 minutes and 53 seconds to evacuate the building, which was not acceptable. And next time we have a fire alarm, we're supposed to leave the building immediately. I don't know what he was so cross about. It should have been obvious that we had already hurried as fast as we could.
I was hoping to be alone out here in the garden. No one ever comes here in the evening. I wanted to be here for the stars. I don't want anything, and I don't want to talk anymore. Can I please be by myself? That's all you've done here, poke, prod, and pry. I've never felt so violated before. I just need to be alone. I don't like being around anyone. I get upset when I'm in a room full of people. I get really scared. I almost feel like I can't breathe. I just need to be alone, doctor. I know you don't really care. You're simply doing your job. Once I'm better, you'll be through with me. Then it's on to another patient. You're just like anyone else. I bet you haven't cared about anyone in years. That would be unprofessional, an unnecessary burden on your conscience. Please just go. I know what I need better than you. You're not God, you know. You don't have the power to cure everything. I know what you can and can't do. Go on, get out of here. Relax. How can I relax with you bothering me all the time? If there's another way, I'd like to know how. Is there anything else you wish to pry out of me? No? Good. Then good night. I thought you were leaving. Sorry, but I'm busy. I'm killing weeds, cultivating beauty by killing the ugly. It's an odd practice. In reality, it's weeds on which the soil feeds. But if you find the truth is fulfilling, and if only you'd planted something more useful, like beans or tomatoes, then the sacrifice might be worthwhile, but flowers, they're much more difficult to justify. Frail beauty, that's all they are, cultivated for weakness. And very little nutritional value. In the end, they can never satisfy. Always a disappointment as they wither and die, frail and weak. A light frost would snap its neck. So easily smitten by one little insect. The choice is so easy for most. Yet it's not. I suppose most people don't give it much thought. You know, I know a story of a man who once had a plant, which most call a useless weed, but turned out the plant was a cure for cancer. But it was almost extinct, so no one got the cure. Do you believe in such a thing? Do you believe in anything? Oh, never mind. I guess to you, most beliefs are only fables. No one really cares, do they? They pay you to care. Everywhere it's the same way. People should only fix what's broken. There was nothing wrong with me before you found me. I was happy at home, alone, shut out from the world, protected. I had to be alone. I needed to hide. I had no choice. I couldn't live like the others anymore. Why can't they leave me alone? I just want to be alone. But I'm never alone. There's always something or someone around me, following me. They're always near. Spirits, ghosts, shadows of the past. They've always been with me. Not by choice, at least not on my part. I tried not to believe, but they forced themselves on me. Perhaps it was the old Indian woman. I lived in her house too long as a child. At night, footsteps paced the ceiling over and over, an impatient march, forever in step to a silent drum. If this had been my only encounter, I could dismiss it. At night, I slept in my room. Well, not really slept. Sleep was never something I did much of, especially at an early age. My worries at 7 far outweighed my need for sleep. Awake, forever awake. My father left me. My mother, well, I was always worried Mother would leave me too. I wish the ghosts would go, but they linger, always lingering, never really gone. The old Indian woman was my first. She rocked at my bedside all in white. My eyes met hers, and she gave me this worried look. I told my family, and their eyes betrayed them. The old Indian woman, young to most who saw her, once lived on this land, a servant. A girl died here. She at her side rocking, and the girl died. Just when I no longer believe, they appear. A cold touch, flashing white lights. They return even now. This time it was too much. Another place, another spirit. This time, though, it was someone I knew. It started with a call, the news that she had gone away. Finding myself in tears sapping me dry. Would the tears ever stop? I had lost everything. Something opens doors, something leaving tissue by the bed. The dog barking at nothing, but something. Finding things in new places, things missing. The locked door open. Explanations fly. Knowledge is our protection. It began with the cold. Spots of cold, a moment of normal then cold. As if the heat were sucked into another dimension. These don't bother me as much as the touch. The handless touch of nothing. Something grabbed my arm, but nothing was there. I ran from my bed, buried myself in covers, and waited for dawn. You know, you're never too old to hide under the covers, wrapping yourself up into a cocoon, hoping that when you emerge, life will be butterflies again. But only children believe in butterflies.